Hey guys, I'm Mark, and today is a beautiful Sunday. It's March 14th, and Keira and Holly and I are out for a walk in the garden. Just kind of going to go over my plan for this year. Last year the garden was really nice. I was really happy with how it turned out, but I'm really excited for this year. I'm going to mix things up a little bit, but it all starts with a plan. I have a plan that I printed out here. Now I did this on something called Garden Planner through the Almanac, the Farmer's Almanac website. It's a great software program because it allows you to design your garden. This is an exact scale copy of what I'm standing in the garden. It's 100 feet by 200 feet. And it's great because it allows you to move things around. Say I want to put carrots here. Okay, now I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to put them over here. And very easily, with just a couple clicks of the mouse, I can move stuff around. It'll tell me at the end, once I've got all this planned out, it'll tell me how many seeds of what that I'm going to need, or exactly how many plants of what are in here. It also tells me pretty cool things like where I planted things last year. So like if I'm dragging and dropping the tomato plants, it'll show up in red where I had the tomato plants last year, so that I know not to put them in the same place again this year for crop rotation's sake. So it's a really cool program. It makes life really easy for me, especially for a garden this scale. So I guess today I just want to give you a little bit of a tour and show you what the plan is so far. I think I'm pretty excited about it, pretty confident about it. So right now I'll show you where we are. We are standing right here in the very corner and looking out that way. If you can see out that way where that little building is, that little pump house is right out here. So that kind of gives you an idea of what we're looking at. This bed that I'm standing on, I guess, is a good place to start. This is just going to be like an early spring salad bed. I'm going to do some small early carrots, some radishes, spinach, mixed salad greens, things like that. Maybe some green onions thrown in there. Just a really nice place to come out and make a nice fresh early spring salad. All the plastic is going to come up for the most part this year. I'm going to recycle it where I can for certain crops that it's useful for more than anything. Tomatoes seem to really do well growing in it, and that's what was grown here last year. If you see some of my other videos, last year I had the tomato plants were pretty much planted all the way around the border. Like this bed and then all the black beds behind me in that row were all tomatoes, and then same thing on the other side. But this year the tomatoes are going to be moved inward into the garden. You can see that's the center 4 big beds. The tomatoes are going to be flanking that. So 2 here, 2 here, 2 here, and 2 here. So it's a total of 8 beds that I'm doing this year. And I'm also going to space the tomato plants a little farther out. You can see what's left from last year. I had them at 4 feet on center, and there were 12 tomato plants in here. I think it got to be a little too much. It was a lot of, with using manure and the high nitrogen, the plants got huge, and I think that they weren't breathing as much as they should have been. So I think I'm just going to cut them down to 8 plants per bed this year. They're going to be kind of staggered out a little differently. So 8 plants per bed times 8 beds is going to be 64 tomato plants. What do you want? No, you can't jump on me. You're not supposed to do that. She's going to be my little helper this year, I can already tell. She's already starting to dig her little holes and chew on things, and it's going to be kind of nice to have her in here because the fence is going to act as like a dog pen sort of. If I can get the gates on or some kind of temporary gate, then I can just keep her in here with me. I don't have to worry about her wandering off. So that'll be nice. Her digging everything up right behind me, we'll see how nice that is, but that comes with the territory. Let's see. So moving on down the line, this bed right here, I think I'm going to primarily just do beets. I've got a few different types of beet seed this year. That's the other thing I didn't mention about this plan is it helps me get my whole roster of seeds together. I figure out exactly how much I'm going to need, and I order it all at once, and I make sure I got everything, And it just makes it super easy and simple. And it's all here, it's ready to go. I've got certain things that have been sown already, so it just really helps stay on schedule. But beets are going to be going here. Then again, the tomatoes, here's the first tomato bed, the second, then the third behind it, and then the fourth behind that. And then it's going to be the same thing on the other side, like a mirror image. So we'll keep going down this way. We'll just kind of go down and then double back and then go down again, I think. Kind of just to show you how this is all laid out. It's neat this time of year before everything grows up tall, because you can sort of see out across the whole garden and get a better perspective, like I think, of what it looks like. Yeah, you like walking in the beds, don't you? Okay, so right now we are standing right here. Okay, now these 4 beds, 1, 2, 3, 4. The one that Holly is standing on right now is this one right here. These 4 beds are going to be all strawberries. I love strawberries. I got 4 different kinds of strawberries. It's like an all-season mix. So each variety comes in successively after the last variety. So I have an extended harvest. But I want to separate them into their own beds, variety per variety, because I want to keep them from kind of growing into each other, so that going into the future, I'm going to know what I have, and then it'll get all tangled up and mixed up. But for the first year, since they're going to be stretching out and on their first year, there's going to be some space in here, so I'm going to interplant all the strawberries with onions. And before I do that, I'm going to condition the soil. I think I'm going to put some sand in here, dump a good bit of sand. Strawberries and onions seem to like a little more sandy soil. I'm also going to put some more organic matter in, maybe some mushroom soil, because this is going to be, I guess, a semi-permanent type setup with the strawberries going forward. So might as well get the soil right to begin with. Come on, baby girl. We can talk about the center 4 beds. I did a video in the fall about using shredded leaves as mulch, and you can see, here we are mid-March almost, and they've stayed in place for the most part. The really finely shredded leaves seem to stay in place a lot better than the coarser ones. They didn't blow around, but I mean, I'm pretty impressed with how well they stuck, because this garden is really out in the open. We do get a lot of wind up here, but you can see they've kept the weeds down pretty good. I haven't pulled a single weed out of here all winter. Yeah, you like the leaves too, don't you? Where are you going? Yeah. Okay. So strawberries, these center beds, I'm going to do all flowers this year. I think that's going to be really neat, to just kind of have almost like an apocalyptic butterfly event is what I want to shoot for. I want to have just tons and tons of butterflies. So I think I'm going to put lantana in here, a whole bunch of that, probably as like the foundation, and then intermixed with that, I want to put some different salvias and things, just bring in butterflies, bees, all kinds of stuff. In the dead center, I think I'm going to put some kind of, well, I'm not going to give it away, but I think I want to do something with a whole lot of height in the center to just sort of let you know that you're in the middle of the garden. So that's the plan so far. Behind me, let's see, that bed right here is going to be peppers. I'm going to plant the peppers the same way that I planted the tomatoes last year. So everywhere that you see a hole in the plastic on the far bed, that's where there's going to be a tomato cage. And inside that tomato cage, I'm going to put 5 pepper plants. And I think that that's going to help the airflow with the peppers. I think it's going to let a little more sunlight in. And then also, just like with harvesting and being able to tell where my transitions are, like here's 5 of this, here's 5 of that, instead of everything just becoming like this mixed up jungle. I think it's going to be able to make it a lot easier to tell things apart. So that'll be hot peppers, and then tomatoes, and then tomatoes. We'll walk down to the big area over here. I'll show you what I'm gonna do with that. Hey, Piggy Bear. Last year, this is where I planted the corn and I had sunflowers here too. And I did on that trellis, we did some old heirloom seed from, we had some old lima bean seed from one of the people that lives here. Their grandmother had it and the seed was like 12 years old. So we just wanted to try to recycle the seed or get fresh seed, fresh stock to hold on to that heirloom. And we did get enough seed that I think this year we're going to be able to keep the line going. The lima beans didn't produce really well. I think it's because the amount of nitrogen in the soil was very high. Beans in general seem to do a lot better in lower nitrogen, poorer soil environments. They kind of, you know, they make their nitrogen fixing, so they sort of take care of that by themselves. But we had enough bean seeds to plant it again and hold on to the heirloom. So that's pretty cool. But anyway, this year I want to do, let's see, here's the map. So this is the way that we're looking at it. We're standing right here right now. What about right there? I want to do two different types of like early market cabbage. So half of this bed will be a bunch of cabbages and the other half is going to be sweet potatoes. I've never grown sweet potatoes before, but I'm really excited about it. I hear that you do need a lot of room to grow them. They just sort of sprawl out everywhere, so they're going to have to be in one of the larger beds. So I think this is going to be the one that they're in. Around the fence, all the way around the fence, on the border, I'm going to have like a 2 or 3 foot wide picture frame border that goes all the way around. And that's going to be zinnias, primarily zinnias, some Mexican sunflowers, regular sunflowers. Sunflowers are going to do really well, I think, even in a single band because I could tie them to the fence. So I'm not going to be so much worried about wind damage. We'll see how it works out, but it's going to be a ton of color. And again, bees, butterflies, they should love it. So I'm going to be really excited about that. Let's see. What are you doing? She likes playing in the leaves, just like any kid, I guess. She's 12 weeks old yesterday. So she's coming along. You can see she's starting to lose some of that puppy fat. She's not like a little roly-poly anymore. She's kind of starting to look more like a dog shape, I guess. Yeah, we were talking about you. Yay! Yeah. She's a happy girl. Always happy. This bed is actually edged and it still has the plastic on it, so you can see the size of it. The one that I just showed you where the sweet potatoes are going is a mirror image of this bed. It's exactly the same size. So that kind of gives you maybe a better perspective of the scale of things. This side is going to be all corn this year. I love to freeze the corn. It's just excellent when you freeze it. Especially you pick it right away, you cut it off, you get it in bags. I don't blanch it or anything. I just get it right in quart bags, about 3 cups per bag, and put it in the freezer right away. And still today, I mean, in March, we're still eating it, and it's wonderful. It's as sweet as can be. So this year, I want to do a ton of corn. This whole bed's going to be corn. I think to start out with, I'm going to do peas. I'm going to space them in rows that are appropriate. You can kind of see on here. The little green lines are the peas, and then the little yellow lines are the corn rows. So when the corn is ready to be planted or sown, the peas will be, you know, big enough that they're going to start being on their way out. Once the corn gets any height to it, the peas are going to come out, and it's just going to be all corn. But I'll at least be able to get a good first harvest out of that before the corn comes along. What are you eating? She likes sniffing and chewing on all kinds of stuff. This is the cucumber cage from last year. It worked really, really well. I think this year with the cucumbers, I'm going to do something a little different. Instead of building a square like this, I'm going to take the, what are you barking at? I'm going to take the cattle panels and I'm going to do them in like an arch. I'm just going to bend them this way, and I think when I do that they'll be a little bit taller, so I can walk straight through here. But the cucumbers are not going to go here, they're going to go down on that part of the garden this year, just to kind of keep everything rotating. Are you in jail? She likes it in here, I'm not sure why. Anyway. This will be tomatoes this year, and so will this. This bed is going to be peppers again, so it's like a mirror image of that side. So I'll probably do sweet peppers down here and hot peppers down there, something like that. Again, 5 plants per cage is what I'm going to try. You can still see behind me, I don't know, the camera could probably pick it up. Still got some cabbage that lasted all winter long. That's going to be good with the corned beef and cabbage here in the next few days. I'm just going to come up here and use those up. Why not? Let's see. Again, here we are sort of in the center of the garden again. So this is another strawberry bed. You just love trying to see what I'm doing, don't you? This is going to be another strawberry bed, interplanted with onions. Same thing down here. I'm not sure yet whether I'm going to plant in the, I left this part of the fence open just because if I want to have like a tour or an event here or something like that, I can put a really big tent right there, and that'll kind of be where the tables are set up and things like that. But this year I might just plant it straight across with zinnias and continue on the zinnia sunflower thing. We'll see. That's a good view of the irrigation pipe that we laid out. It's a big, I think it's 2.5 inch pipe that we have valves out, ball valves out along every aisle. So we just hook up the hoses to that, and that seems to work really well. It's neat this time of year again, because nothing's really tall, so you can see out across the whole garden and kind of get a better idea or perspective of what's going on. The dogs love to sniff. They love using the garden as the bathroom too. They got this whole farm, but whenever we come up here, they got to relieve themselves in the garden. I'm not sure why, but that's what they do. Let's see. This here is gonna, I almost stepped on you. This bed here, and then the one behind it, they're gonna be potatoes. So speaking of St. Patrick's Day, I'm gonna come up here on St. Patrick's Day, hopefully, and plant my potatoes. In this part of the world, that's usually when you want to do it. I'm only going to plant 2 beds of potatoes this year. Last year I did the main 4 beds in the center with potatoes, and it wound up being way too many potatoes. I couldn't even really give them all away. So this year I'm just going to cut it down to 2 beds, 2 of the raised beds, and I'm only going to do 2 varieties this year. I'm going to do the red variety that I grew last year, and then I'm going to do Yukon Golds, which are great. I mean, I've grown Yukon Golds every year, and they come in early, they grow fast. I mean, yeah, they don't store quite as long as like a russet or a Kennebec or something like that, but they're just super early. They don't get the bugs on them later in the season when it starts getting really hot like some of the other varieties do. You can get them out of the ground quick. Just a great all-around potato. So just going to keep it simple this year. Yukon Golds and it's either red Kennebec or red Norland that I'm growing. I'll get into more of that when I do the video about the potatoes when we go ahead to plant them. What are you looking at? She loves watching out for things. Down here, we'll just keep on going down this way. This is my giant bed of garlic. I planted all this garlic last year. I think right about when I was supposed to. I was able to get it in I think it was late October. And they did really, really well. Before it started getting cold, they sprouted up out of the ground, so the cloves got a chance to root out, get established before the winter set in. And now you can see they're all coming to life, and they're sprouting up back again. And it's going to be a whole lot of garlic this year, which is wonderful. Garlic really is one of those things that makes an excellent gift, because you know, if you give somebody like a like a bag of tomatoes or something like that, then it's sort of like you force it on them, like they have to use them in the next 2 or 3 days or they'll go bad. But garlic, you give somebody a bundle of garlic and they can have it for, you know, 6 months to a year or whatever and just use it as they need it. So that's been a really great thing for gifts. And plus I just love garlic. This bed over here, this is where I did all my herbs last year, and I think I'm going to do the same thing this year. Just because it's right close to the gate, and that wound up being really convenient to just pull the golf cart up to the gate and come in when I was cooking dinner and grab a handful of what I needed instead of going out to the middle. And you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? So that's this bed here. Probably going to start fresh. Going to yank everything out. I mean, the rosemary is really tired. I mean, it held on till last minute, but it's all ready to come out now. The thyme and oregano and things like that, I think I'm probably just going to rip all that out and start fresh as well. They love to sniff. Monkey see, monkey do. The one does one and the other one follows. Yeah. Then I think that's the last 2 beds are here and the one behind it. This bed I've kind of left open for last minute sorts of things. I do have like some odd things like parsnips. I think I'm going to put my parsnips in here. And then whatever kind of comes along, I'll just sort of fill in this bed as it goes. You always got to leave yourself a little bit of room for, you know, to make adjustments as they come along. And then this is the bed where the cucumbers are going to be. So I'm going to do that arch thing that I was talking about with the, I'm going to do that arch thing that I was talking about with the cattle panels. And then down the center, I think I'm going to do like spinach or peas or something really early that that'll be established and grown and mature and ready to harvest by the time the cucumbers are able to make it all the way up and over and shade that stuff out. So I think that's everything. I think it covers the whole plan thus far, how the plastic's going to get torn up and moved about, and I'm really excited for this year. It's going to be different, but it's going to be a lot more color, and hopefully going to introduce a few more things that I've never grown before, and that's always fun too. So that's my video. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.